And welcome one, welcome all. It's time for NCAA men's basketball as the visiting Pios of Carroll come to town to take on the pride of Kenosha, the Firebirds of Carthage College. Hello everybody, I'm Peter Ferreri alongside my broadcast colleague all season, Eric Elger. Eric, good to have you with us on we always say cold and chilly, but it's a blustery evening as well here in Kenosha. We're glad everybody is safe. Let's look at the standings right now. A three-way tie for first, North Park, Carthage, Illinois Wesleyan. But the Pios, two clutch recent conference wins has really given them a vote of confidence in this season.
Yeah, they talk about the standings being what they are, but really all of these teams can be competitive. No different with Carroll. Their loss last week on Saturday, they lost in overtime to Augustana, 85-77. And there you can see, led by Kobe Simpson and Eric Victorson. But this team is a senior-laden squad. They've got 4 or 5 starters, a senior or graduate student, and the young gun of the whole group, Jacob Neighbor, still a junior, and he can be a handful. As you can see, 9 rebounds, the second leading rebounder in the conference behind Carthage's own Ryan Johnson.
After the loss to Milliken, it's as if a light switch went off for this Carroll squad. A victory against Wheaton, a victory against Elmhurst, and then so close defeat to Augustana. On the flip side for the Firebirds, again, it's the Johnson brothers show. AJ 20, Ryan 22. Brooks, again, the last game against Wheaton, still had 15 points, only 5 for 15 from the field, but the rebounds were so clutch. Again, coming off that injured hand a few weeks ago, he no longer has to be the dominant shooter, and we saw that a few games ago when it was Johnson and Dawn scoring so many of the points. This diversified approach for Carthage, it's going to be really challenging for Wheaton to defend so many players at once.
Yeah, in Carthage, we saw Wheaton in the standings just a few minutes ago. They are winless in conference, but they were actually just a point behind Carthage at halftime. Now, Carthage really turned it on in the second half, and Coach Jurkovic talked about the defense keyed by A.J. Johnson and Griffin Dawn really locked up Wheaton in the second half, and they eventually got up to a 19-point lead and then saw that lead dwindle down to 5 points, but Carthage still able to come out on top. And even though we said 0-7 in conference, Wheaton still gave Carthage a lot of issues. And you mentioned it before this game coming into tonight is the Carroll Pioneers, a team that has not necessarily been successful in the standings all the time, but they've really been a thorn in the side of Carthage. And we've talked about a couple years ago, even last year, where Carthage was really looking good in the standings, and they would slip up at Carroll. So Carroll knows how to attack this Coach Jurkovic team, and they have been difficult for the Firebirds to stop.
Well, and you also have to take into account, this is that mid-season grind. You're coming up to a close in the next month and a half. Every game so crucial. But now that Carthage is in that log jam at the top, they're the hunted. Teams like Carroll, yes, 6-10 overall, but 2 out of the last 3, and for all intents and purposes, it could have been a 3-game win streak in conference. You kind of throw the record books out and say, hey, if Carroll gets hot, it could be trouble for the Firebirds. Let's talk about Carthage really quickly before we send it away. For the Firebirds, a quick key to victory for them to come out victorious and get their 7th conference win.
Well, Wheaton really likes to shoot the 3, and as someone as good a shooting team as Carthage, Wheaton actually makes Carroll actually makes more 3-pointers than Carthage per game. So something Carthage is going to have to look out for is that the Pioneers love to launch it, so can they close out quickly, get a hand in the shooter's face? Because if all of a sudden Carroll gets some confidence from behind the 3-point arc, they're a team that can really shoot, and you have someone like Eric Victorson, who is first in 3-pointers made per game and shoots at 37%, so a high volume and highly efficient shooter. So Carthage, I think, is going to have to slow them down on the 3-point line, and for the offensive end, it's continue to find the Johnson brothers and work through them.
We're going to take a timeout and hand it off to sideline P announcer Justin Corrigan to talk us through the starting lineups of the national anthem on the Firebird Broadcasting Network.
Good evening, student athletes, coaches. draped over the coffin of Captain Frank Bavron, a former Carthage student who died in Vietnam in 1970. The flag is a gift to the college from his parents. In remembering Captain Bavron, we pay tribute to all who have sacrificed their lives for our country and honor those who today put themselves in harm's way in service to America. At this time, I ask that you please rise if able and remove your caps for the playing of our national anthem by the Carthage College Pep Band. Now it's time to meet tonight's starting lineup. First, representing Pioneers of Carroll University. At guard, a 6'2" senior from Bartlett, Illinois, number 4, Aaron Watford. At forward, a 6'3" senior from Spokane, Washington, number 10, Kylo Simpson. At guard, a 6'2" senior from Spokane, Washington, number 12, Cody Simpson. At guard, a 6-foot senior from Oregon, Wisconsin, number 34, Eric Victorson. And at forward, a 6'8" junior from Janesville, Wisconsin, number 41, Jacob Neighbor. The head coach of the Pioneers is Taylor Jansen. Coach Jansen is assisted by Max Johansson and John Friedler. All right, Firebird fans, make some noise. It's showtime.
welcome one, welcome all to Tarble Arena in Kenosha, Wisconsin, as the visiting Pioneers of Carroll are in town to take on the Firebirds of Carthage College. Looking at the Pioneers starting lineup, Wofford, Simpson, Victorson, and Neighbor going to get the start. It's going to be a tough day for the Simpsons as they have to take on the Johnsons. A.J. William and Ryan Johnson, your 4 and 5. Riley Brooks going to be your 2. A.J. Johnson, your floating 3. And Griffin Dawn going to get your start at the point. Going left to right is going to be the Firebirds in their home grays, red numbers and letters, black trim. The Pios in the road blues, orange numbers and letters, white trim. We are underway in Kenosha. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Ferreri. Alongside me, Eric Elger. And we welcome you to the lakefront of Lake Michigan and a chilly Tarble Arena. Shot up good. And that's a first bucket in the first 15 seconds of the game. Evan Bland getting the shot. Mark that, actually, is Simpson, the senior out of Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, Kyle Simpson, 4th in the CCIW in field goal percentage, and you can see why. Just a smooth, buttery jumper from the elbow. Knocks it down to get Carroll on the board.
And Griffin Dawn able to answer back. So again, both Simpsons, the 6-foot-plus seniors from Spokane. It is listed that Kylo is an inch taller than Kobe. As Griffin Dawn cuts in, kicks to the top. Ryan Johnson, the big man, open for 3 into A.J. Williams. He's got the post. Looks for the turnaround, kicks out again to Dawn. Dawn drives, spin of his own, floater, right hand, front iron, no good. Ryan Johnson, offensive board, goes up strong with the layup, untouched. Carthage up by 2.
Yeah, how about that? Griffin Dawn, both possessions, getting to his spot. He likes that left block there, and wasn't able to connect, but an easy pickup for Ryan Johnson, and puts it in to get on the board.
Aaron Wofford out of Bartlett, Illinois, in the lineup, kicks back up to Kobe Simpson. Right hand, good. So just like that, the offensive Carrolls answers back. Quick start.
Yeah, how about that? The Simpson brothers saying we're a heck of a brother duo too here. We're not going to be outdone by the Johnson brothers, and we'll see if the Johnsons have a say in that.
And Riley Brooks with the spinneroonie to the baseline. Drives in, floats up with the right hand. Carthage back on top.
It's good to see him attack the basket. As we said last game, 5 of 15 from the field. And when he gets downhill, the steam, a little head of steam going, he is tough to stop at the rim.
Looking for the bounce pass. Almost swiped away at the last moment by Johnson. Floater up and a miss to start things off on that possession. That was Neighbor.
Neighbor and Ryan Johnson, 2 of the best big men in the CCIW.
Indeed.
And Jacob Neighbor has had a wonderful season for the Pioneers so far. Highly efficient from the field.
Ryan Johnson for 3, couldn't find it off the rim. Carroll a chance to tie or take the lead. Fast pace, opening 3 minutes of action. Driving in untouched, nice play by Kobe Simpson.
So just able to get free there, and no one home from Carthage to stop Kobe Simpson from driving to the basket, and already with 4 points on the night.
Looking inward, nothing there. Carroll a chance to take the lead. The bounce pass up, blocked away. Rejection, kicked on the ground, just a mishandle by Brooks. Wide open, knee brace on the right knee. Trifecta good, and he stares down the bench. Aaron Wofford giving a look to the red and black.
Oh, wonder if something was said there from the Carthage bench, because yeah, Wofford turned and gave them a little jaw himself. And Wofford was the CCIW first-year student athlete of the year a couple seasons ago, so he is someone who is familiar in this Pioneers lineup.
Looking with the right hand, couldn't find it, is Evan Victorson out of Oregon, Wisconsin. Griffin Dawn layup with the right hand. That's a player that Coach Steve Jarakovic has said, what a fun spark plug of a player. He's your all, do everything player. thrust into a starting role this year with injuries and graduations and has done nothing but rise to the occasion. Pulling up Simpson from a long range 2, smooth as silk. Carroll up 11-8.
Yeah, he is you can see that. I mean, quick jab step, rise and fires, and yeah, he is, early on in the game here, he's got one of the best looking jump shots, I think, in the conference, and mentioned how efficient he is, and yeah, he can really rise and flick it.
First foul called on the aforementioned Kylo Simpson. Some subs in the game for the Pios. Johnson drives, looks for someone to kick to, gets it to Williams. Right now a man defense for the Pios. Let's see if they switch it up. A.J. Williams looks for 3, can't find it back rim. Pios known to switch from man to zone and within the zones, trying the 1-3-1 at times as well.
And Carthage just saw a zone defense from Wheaton, so a little familiar with what they need to do to attack any zone.
And not able to get there in time is Steinecke out of St. Charles, Missouri. Dawn inside to Johnson. He's got the height matchup, the pump fake, the spin with the right hand goes up strong. Miss, but who else? Griffin, we ride at dawn with the tip in, and the Firebirds are back to within 1.
I'm telling you, every shot he takes on his shot chart feels like it's right there, and there he's crashing the boards and using the athleticism to jump and tip it in.
Offensive board by Steinecke, floats it in with the left hand. I did my research, and something that the Pios pride themselves on is when their team takes the 3, they are not necessarily the board crashers. They send 1 or 2 people in, but leave the rest knowing that the style of offense and the style of shooting they have often gets that long carom off the rim or backboard if they don't make it, and you saw that situation play out right there.
Yeah, they do like to launch them, and it's an interesting observation you made there, because no one got Griffin down a few possessions ago, but Riley Brooks taking it to the basket tough.
Riley Brooks up strong. Well, and I give credit where credit is due. I had the opportunity to watch some past Carroll broadcasts. They did an outstanding job explaining to the viewers at home the style they try to run, and you saw it come to fruition right in front of our very eyes. Brooks ties it up. Just a few games ago, Brooks held scoreless. You knew that wouldn't last all season for the now 3rd leading scorer for the Firebirds, who is more or less tied with Ryan Johnson for the 2nd leading scorer. The spin, the floater with the right hand. Steinecke couldn't get it. Johnson poked it up. Looking for 3, hand in his face, couldn't find it. Griffin, Dawn, rebound.
There's one of those long rebounds. Griffin able to track it down with that long wingspan that he's got.
Brooks tries to get contact, and he does. And stepping over was Steinecke. So smart play by Brooks. He knew that the shuffling Steinecke couldn't set his feet in time, threw up a shot, going to the line for 2. And already the Pios 4 fouls, and we aren't even 7 minutes into the contest.
Yeah, credit to Carthage. I mean, they're really attacking the basket, and that's where they've drawn a couple of those fouls. And I think Riley Brooks, earlier on in the season, might have settled for, turnaround jumper. He's had a lot of those fadeaway baseline shots, and you can see tonight it's all downhill, and it's been effective for him so far.
We just had Coach Pop, the head football coach, walking by giving a shout out. Always great to see here at Tarble Arena. If the coaches are in the area, they will be here. They will support each other. It's a family atmosphere of not only players but coaches and teammates and classmates.
I think that's one of the benefits of Division III athletics is just, all the guys, all the football team, the basketball team probably hanging out. something you don't always see in those big programs, but Carthage here, as you mentioned, a family.
Dawn floats with the right hand, couldn't find it, tries to get the offensive board. Pinballs around and the Pios come away with it. Open on the right side is Simpson driving in with no regard for the double team. Splitting the uprights is Victorson, and just like that, the Pios back up by 1.
Victorson has gone over 1,000 career points, and you can see how crafty he can be when he's in the air.
Swiped away. Sigel floats up with the right hand and good. Colton Sigel getting the 6th man nod this evening in Kenosha. Usually it's a Nemi Stojic, a Colton Sigel, sometimes the Tanner Lambs of the world. The bounce pass. A.J. Williams looking to sub back in soon, likely for Johnson or Dawn. Williams is going to check in. Let's see for who? For the Firebirds, and it is going to be for Riley Brooks. So not to jinx it, I'm probably going to jinx it. There are no fouls on any Firebirds at this point. So a fairly clean game for the Birds. A steal by Simpson. Looks for the pass, keeps it himself, gets contact, hits the ground hard. And indeed, the first foul on the Firebirds. 10 seconds after I said it.
I was going to say, something's going to have to be an offensive foul or a steal, and what just happened? All right. And Carroll is a team that likes to attack, and they get a lot of steals. And someone like Kobe Simpson, actually 4th in the CCIW in stealing the basketball. But you can see the backup point guard, Evan Bland, who's been around a junior. And he is someone who's always, his quickness has really jumped off the charts. And they're just able to pick the pocket of A.J. Johnson, who last game had 0 turnovers, already with 2 tonight. So a rarity for someone with as secure with the ball as A.J. Johnson.
Great job boxing out by Johnson to get that rebound, or Dawn, I should say. Tied at 16 apiece. Fast first half of action in Tarble. Looking for the kick out. Sigel, 3. Couldn't find it. He's that type of player that Coach Jarakovic likes to deploy. Not afraid of any shot, not afraid of any spot on the court. Had some absolutely crucial 3-pointers just a week ago against North Central when they were on, arguably, Eric, one of the biggest tears you and I have ever seen in all of our time watching Carthage athletics. But just like that, answering the call for the Pios is Aaron Wofford, who's having himself a nice little start with 5 points.
I mean, you see why Carroll is tough, tough out in the conference. They got a lot of scoring options. They spread it around and gotten some good looks.
The phenomenal A.J. Johnson finds the 3 ball and helps the Birds find the lead.
Carthage has been really shooting well from the 3-point arc. Last game, 15 of 32, and here they get on the board their first 3 of the night.
Trying to lay up with the right hand, no dice. Brooks comes in. Quick sub so far for the Firebirds. Johnson thought about the 3, picked up the pieces. Not a lot of movement offensively. The defense trying to stand tall. Right foot on the elbow, and A.J. Johnson delivers again. 21-18 Birds.
It's a calm jumper right in the face of Evan Bland. And credit to Evan Bland. I mean, he's so quick, stayed right in front of him, but sometimes the height just is all you need to elevate and get the shot off, and there he comes back.
Ooh, you see that little point afterward?
Yeah.
Evan Bland, I mean, pointing right at AJ's temple. That was, that's aggressive. But you could do it when you make shots like that with a hand in the face. Tied at 21, 9:50 to go. And so Nemi Stojic gonna finally give Johnson a breather, and in comes number 31, Mason Miller for the Firebirds, the junior out of Evansville, Wisconsin. And this is one of those players that, there's been quite a few that Coach Jarakovic has tried to deploy, that one player a game that maybe hasn't seen a lot of time. Nemi Stojic. Looks like he's growing a beard out.
Nice look from Sigel there. What a bounce pass to free the big man, Nemi.
Well, again, Stojic, 4th to 5th on the depth chart last season with the Bigs. This year, he is number 2. Nice move around. Fancy footwork by Jacob, Won't You Be My Neighbor, out of Janesville, Wisconsin.
Think he knows who Mr. Rogers is?
Probably not. Brooks, hand in his face, rims out, no good.
Neighbor is a tough dude. Every single one of his shots from inside the three-point arc, so he is someone who likes to grind it out down there.
Evan Bland couldn't find it. Brooks tries to float in, tipped out. Nowhere to go with it. Stojic at the three-point line. Plenty of time for the Birds. Thought about the alley-oop, couldn't find it. Up ahead, Numbers, Pios, three-pointer, rimmed out, no good, and a hustle rebound for number 31, Miller.
Yeah, he really had to hustle back there to get the rebound because he was involved with that turnover there. And, you know, you like to see it. If you're Coach Jurkovic, you might get a mistake, hustle the other floor and get it back, and he sure did.
Well, you had players like Arnold get some minutes recently. Shot up and good. Riley Brooks delivering. Last home game, Nate Montgomery out of Waterton, Wisconsin, getting some quality points. As mentioned, Tanner Lamb, a call away from stepping in, kind of one of those rotational guys if Sigel needs a break. 2-point lead for the Firebirds, losing the handle, and a foul going to be called. Coach Jurkovic kind of nodding with that one. I don't know if I've ever seen Coach Jurkovic agree with a call, but he did there. 7:40 remaining in the first. We are witness.
And I think Sigel has the assignment there on defense is to kind of blitz Simpson when he gets there, because we saw him calmly knock down a couple shots from there, and he just got a little over-aggressive on the double team.
Nailing the three, Eric Victorson. You mentioned he's the leading scorer, 13 and a half points a game. He's a .370 shooter from three. And that long-range shooting is really what's going to be the challenging part. Brooks, the step back. Couldn't find it. That would have been pretty.
Yeah, you can tell A.J. Johnson got caught up a little there and flicked it behind his head, but Riley Brooks almost made him look good.
Off the pass. Carroll, they are not taking more than 10 seconds on average each and every possession. The quick trigger, Pios. The turnaround jumper for Dawn. Couldn't find it, tried to follow it up. Not able to do so. Firebirds not necessarily getting the numbers they want. They're 1 out of their last 4, including 1 out of their last 6 from 3. Still only trailing by 1. Williams loses the handle, and a foul going to be called as Van Ekeren, the 6'2 senior out of Bennett Academy, the Red Wings.
Yeah, you could see what A.J. Williams was looking there. I mean, he had Nemi a free path to the basketball, but how about the athleticism there for Van Ekeren, able to rise, take it away, and get the ball back in Carroll's hands.
Bounce pass. Looking for positioning underneath. Nothing there. No foul called. Just lost in no man's land was Jacob Neighbor.
Yeah, he got stuck under the basket, and Ryan Johnson used that backboard wisely to become another defender for him, and he ran out of room there.
Johnson looks for Dawn. Dawn drives in. Foul going to be called on the way up. So let it be noted, Carroll had 4 fouls within the first 4 minutes of the game. But this is their first foul in almost the last 10 minutes. So they went on a bit of a don't touch the Firebirds spell, which has allowed them to have this 1-point lead with 6:07 remaining. We are, for all intents and purposes, 20 minutes of real-time action. Nobody's needed a timeout. Nobody's needed a breather. We are just full systems go.
I was going to say, I didn't really have any time to see what the stats are looking like. The game's been going, so there's been enough to pay attention to, and yeah, this game is flying by. And hopefully the Birds are one to fly the highest.
I was always told in my studies of broadcasting, if you're looking down, you're not looking up. But we haven't had a chance to look down. Unless it's, a free throw opportunity. Everything's at a frantic pace between these CCIW foes. Ryan Johnson fights for it, and it goes to A.J. Johnson. Ryan Johnson holding his left ribs right now. We'll see if that comes into play. A.J. goes in, Dawn, and a travel going to be called. Yeah, I thought it was. Kind of got it on a weird angle. Head coach Taylor Jansen, along with assistant coaches Mac Johansson, John Kreidler, and Kenny Ho, your strength and conditioning coach. They have this PIO squad ready to go. You and I spoke about it in the pregame. No team in the CCIW right now could be overlooked. It is such an even contest each and every time out. Backing in, the bounce pass. Oh, beautiful give and go, but just the point blank mace for Steinecke. He's going to want that one back.
And Neighbor was going to go to work again, and Ryan Johnson still kind of rubbing that rib area after, looked like he might have taken a shoulder, an elbow or two.
Riley Brooks, that's one of the reasons he came to Carthage College, was for opportunities like that. Just get those tough, gritty points. A steal by Brooks. He's got Williams, dishes to Williams, and a foul going to be called on A.J. Williams on the way up. If you think about what the style had been for the past 5 years with, Balatovich, with Julian Campbell, with Antoine Nesbitt, it was ground and pound. It was your old school, feed it in, pound, go to the line. Now it's pure speed.
Yeah, and that's something I remember talking to Coach Jurkovic about, is how much he likes how they're playing this season, how much quicker they can be. And when you've got guys all over the floor ready to sprint, it can be fun to watch.
Driving in, layup with the right hand, missed, but the follow through. Who else? Kylo Simpson delivering. He's that player right now. He's the Griffin Dawn, I like to say, for the Pioneers. Need a rebound, need a three, need a hustle play. Look no further than number 10.
For sure. He's had a nice game so far. And A.J. Williams taken to the basket. There's been some tough drives for Carthage here, going through some contact, and that has been how they've got ahead in this game.
As evenly matched of a contest as you're going to see on a Wednesday evening. Floater up in the game now is Lamar Smith out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Pass in, Smith. Beautiful play, Smith. When you have your bench bigs contributing like that, it's almost surprising to see that this team only has 2 conference wins and 6 wins overall. But they're getting hot and they're clicking at the right time. That time is now. Dawn drives, loses the handle, kick back out to Ryan Johnson under 10. Johnson drives in, looks for contact, up, no whistle. Johnson's grabbing those left ribs again. You can kind of see it. When he got nicked earlier, that's having an impact right now. And just like that, there is the timeout. 7 points on the board now by Victorson out of Oregon, Wisconsin. Firebirds trailing by 2. For Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. And there we go. I just took my first full breath in the past 17 minutes almost of game time. Eric, looking at where things are, high shooting percentage for Carroll, as with Carthage, but Carthage right now 1 for 7 from 3. That was not what their situation was just last week against North Central. They're going to need some of those long balls to fall in order to keep up with the high percentage shooting of this Pios team.
Yeah, I mean, they shot 65% against North Central and close to 50% against Wheaton. And here, just 1 of 7 from the three-point line. And yeah, you expect Carthage to those averages to kind of turn around. But one thing that Carthage has led them into some trouble, they already have 6 turnovers. And Carroll is just straight up taking the ball from them a couple times. And that has led to a couple empty possessions for the Firebirds.
Dawn floats up with the right hand, couldn't find the bucket. That was a tip, and they're saying it's off of Nate Montgomery, who is checked into the game. So Montgomery easing into that 3rd spot. Big man, again, injury after injury has plagued his career. But Coach Jarakovic said no bigger supporter Dawn drives in, fouled on the way up, tried to lay it up with the left hand. Carroll thought it, no foul, but nonetheless, Firebirds chance for 2 to tie.
That was funny. You could hear the entire Carthage bench yelling at Griffin Dawn that someone was coming behind him there. They all were screaming, so Griffin Dawn checks the rear view mirror, hits the gas, and gets to the basket. And he's really been aggressive here. A lot of takes to the basket, and he is, if I'm not mistaken, one of the leading shot getters with 3 of 7, so just behind Riley Brooks of putting up the most shots, and not something that you often see taking the majority of the shots for the Firebirds, but I really like the looks that he's gotten.
Well, against North Central, the Firebirds were 20 for 20 from the free throw line. Again, the second half they had was one for the record books. And coming away with the rebound, who are they saying the foul's on? They're saying foul on A.J. Williams off the ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that was on Nate Montgomery, I for sure didn't see a foul, but the ref seen something that A.J. Williams did that led to that rebound, so Coach Jurkovic asking for an explanation. You can see in your corner of your screen there.
The fadeaway, nice rotation, and looking down the bench again. I think Wofford's favorite place to look is at Carthage players after he makes a shot. No lack of confidence for the Pios. Sigel answers back. Tied at 34.
You got to get a hand in your face. If you're Carroll, no matter how deep behind the arc he is, he can light it up. And how about the response from the Pioneers?
Kobe Simpson gets another bucket. He's up to 6 points. Under 2 minutes. Can Sigel get back-to-back threes? Rims out, no good. Almost had it.
Yeah, that thing was bouncing around there. Looked so good.
Sigel thought he had it clean, but the foul through nicked Lamar Smith. Second foul for Sigel. Minute 40 remaining until half. Pios up by 2.
That would have gone on the Colton Sigel highlight reel as a block for someone like Lamar Smith. But yeah, just you can see poked him in the eye, and Sigel apologized, dapped him up real quick. But a nice job by Colton to at least make him earn it here.
Checking the Pioneers, number 15,
Three-point deficit for the Firebirds, looking to make it 4. Missing front iron, no good. A scramble, offensive rebound, and a timeout going to be called by the Pioneers. That is just grit and determination for the Pioneers, seeing the deflection, jumping to the ground. Carthage was a step late trying to get there, and just like that, already a 3-point deficit for the Firebirds. That could go to as many as 6 with what transpires here. Once again, for Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Timeout on the court. Again, throw the records aside. You and I kind of projected this is what the first half was going to look like, Eric. Pios shooting and being effective. Let's take a look at that replay. Just hustle by Lamar Smith.
It looked like he almost popped the ball out there to tell the ref he had it and they wanted the timeout. But, I mean, I would say it's, if you look at the statistics, it is really even up and down in terms of field goal percentage, rebounding, and the things that are standing out are the turnovers, 6-3 in favor of Carroll, but it's just a stat that you don't really see on your box score. It seems like Carroll's just been quicker to, get a couple steals, dive on the floor, and just they really played hard, and they've rotated their lineup, and Carroll has played very aggressive early in the first half here.
Driving in with the kick out. From the elbow, right hand, left hand, good. Once again for Wofford. Biggest lead of the evening for either squad, 5 points for the Pios. Johnson off balance, couldn't find it. Brooks tries to come away with it, but Sigel finds it. He takes a three, back iron, no good. Huge offensive board from Montgomery. Brooks drives in the layup with the right hand. How about Montgomery, Mr. Hustle? Birds back within three.
It's like a tree rising above there. He's able to get to the highest point and snatches the rebound, gets it to Riley Brooks.
Turnaround floater with the right hand, no good. Offensive foul by Jacob Neighbor, and just like that, with it being 8 fouls, that's the first personal foul on Neighbors, but the Birds are going to go to the line.
And you can see why Coach Jurkovic loves Nate Montgomery. I mean, he just is in the mix on the boards, and there he grabbed an offensive rebound, last possession for the Firebirds, and they're able to draw a foul and get to the line and knock his first one down.
Look over to the bench, Johnson and Stojic both nodding their heads, you know, big man respect.
Well, he's somebody you think in practice, those guys all compete against each other, and I think they play hard against each other in practice, but definitely supportive game time.
Layup with the right hand, and a foul going to be called against A.J. Johnson. And right now the Pios, from taking those long-range shots, are now just driving and slashing into the lane and getting that contact. Second foul on Johnson.
Evan Bland looks hard to stay in front of. I mean, just the way he is so quick, he kind of chops his feet, and they're just able to get to the basket, and A.J. Johnson called for just leaning into him a little bit. But Carroll just kind of seems like when they come down to the offensive end, they have a lot of different varieties, different looks.
Another offensive board off the missed free throw, and a pull away by the Carroll Pioneers. The second chance points from the free throws. Layup with the right hand, another offensive board. Unbelievable sequence. Pioneers just willing themselves to adding on.
Now got 9 offensive rebounds to Carthage's 6.
The floater for Johnson as time expires. Couldn't find it. And at half, Carroll with a 5-point lead. Eric, initial thoughts?
I mean, Carroll's playing with a lot of confidence. They really are aggressive. They're crashing the boards. Guys like Neighbor just beating people up down there. And Carroll, I think if you're Coach Jurkovic, they just seem to be out hustling you a little bit. And that's something I would expect the Firebirds to correct coming in the second half.
42-37 your score. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, the dance team, the cheerleaders, and then the halftime report on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. 42-37 Pios lead.
Located in Kenosha and Racine. Doctors of Physical Therapy, Comprehensive Orthopedics, Golden Oil Company, Lee Mechanical, Pepsi, Riley Construction, Satori Energy, Badger Bus, Bridge 410, BSN Sports, Camosi Construction, Catalyst Exhibits, Culver's, the Stella Hotel and Ballroom, MH Imaging, Waterfront Warehouse, and Carroll. Vasilevich and Shanna Paulson. And take it away.
Welcome into the halftime show for Eric Elger. I'm Peter Ferreri. 42-37 your score. Looking through some of the leading scores for each of these teams. Once again, intriguing enough. Both teams shooting 45% from the field, but leading the charge for the Firebirds. Riley Brooks already 12 points, 4 birds. But Griffin Dawn, your surprise number 2 right now, 3 for 7. Are you surprised that the Johnson brothers haven't had more of an appearance so far?
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do credit to Carroll and someone like Jacob Neighbor, who's been a force down low. And Carthage, yeah, they haven't really got into, seems like, so often Carthage runs through someone like Ryan Johnson and A.J. Johnson. But A.J. Johnson has been bothered a little bit by the physicality of Carroll and have forced a few steals. Carroll already 5 steals in the game and +4 on the offensive rebounding side. And in terms of offense for the Pioneers, it's really just been spread it out and, see who can find to get the best look.
Yeah, both teams right now not shooting the best from 3, but the 4 turnovers to 6. But the biggest one for the Pios, 25 boards, 10 on the offensive side. Those have immediately turned in the points. Carroll having 13 second chance points. It just really is the difference, and they're outscoring the Firebirds 12-8 from the bench perspective. Let's look at what these teams have to do in the second half. If you're Carroll, what do you have to do to come and steal one in Kenosha?
Continue what they're doing. They have played with a lot of confidence. They've been the more physical team, hustling, diving on the floor. And if you're Carroll, there's no reason why you not believe that you can pick up the road victory here in Carthage. I think they're going to come out a lot stronger here in the second half after a quick talk with Coach Jurkovic.
We'll take a timeout. When we come back, second half action. Don't go anywhere. 42-37 Pios looking to take one on the road against the home Firebirds in a crucial CCIW matchup.
Being a student athlete at Carthage, you get the best of both worlds, honestly. You get to learn, grow in the classroom, and then also be a part of the sport that you've fallen in love with since you've been playing it. You get the one-on-one support from the teachers, and then you get the help from your teammates as well.
The athletics teams here at Carthage, they're really good. Some of the achievements that we had during this past year, the volleyball team won the national championship 2 times in a row, 2 years in a row. So it was incredible to see it because we are a unit. So it's really nice to have everyone together and cheering for just one thing.
So the athletic facilities at Carthage, they're new and improving each and every year. We have the baseball, softball, and football field that all of our athletes compete on. There is the Tark, which houses the baseball weight room. There's the actual gymnasium itself, so Tarble Arena for our men's, women's basketball, volleyball. And then obviously the swimming pool that is also in the Tark, and upstairs there's the field house. We've added the Nest, which is a recovery room for all of our student athletes. There's massage guns, there's granola bars, there's other food items. So we have a lot of nice things in that room that you can set up, take it, and it's completely for free. There's so many great opportunities. The athletic staff's super kind, your coaches care about you. There's just so much that goes into being a student athlete that it's an experience I would not take back.
The Aspire program is part of the Aspire Center, and the Aspire Center is our 4-year career and professional development program here at Carthage College. The Aspire program is really different and unique from other college universities' career programs because instead of what the typical experiences of senior year trying to go get a job or an experience after college, We want students to build their experiences starting from day one. So whether that means going and finding an alumni panel that they're going to learn from an alumni about the career industry that they're excited about, or if it means getting an internship or a research experience that's going to build their portfolio, we want the students to develop and learn who they are so they can really leave Carthage with a very good sense of purpose and understanding before they actually leave the college. Every student that comes to Carthage has their own individual career specialist. This is a person who specializes. For example, we have a career specialist for our arts, communication, and culture students. This is a person who's been working as a graphic designer for the past 20 years, and she's responsible for helping those students get opportunities and experiences along the way.
I landed my first internship as a freshman at Deloitte, which is #1 of the Big 4 accounting firms in the world. Through the Aspire program, I was able to develop skills that helped me in interviews as well as networking with other professionals.
Welcome into the second half of the Firebird Broadcasting Network. For Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening in Kenosha. You saw the two pep band members, their halftime tradition, but one of them wasn't there, so we don't know if that was John or Zoe that was not in attendance. And Riley Brooks picking up the pieces, but thank you to Jake Mueller for giving us the names of the two that usually do it. Maybe this weekend.
That's always been a rally point for the Firebirds. It's the sandstorm dancing.
Looking for positioning, left hand up, foul immediately going to be called against Griffin Dawn. Now, I want to point something out. Ryan Johnson, not only is he not in the game, he is indeed stretching out on the left. He has a heat pad along that left rib cage, and that could very well be the reason we saw it when Nemi needed a breather at the end of half number 1. We saw his teammate Montgomery come in. Johnson stretching out on the sideline. No easy way to say it. That'd be a catastrophic loss for the Birds, as so much has relied on him this year.
Yeah, and tough to see him on the sideline right now because Carroll goes right to neighbor, and that has been a handful for someone even like Ryan Johnson to handle.
A.J. Williams said, I will answer the call. A trifecta for number 4.
And that's someone you can always get some instant offense from A.J. Williams. Always a threat from behind the three-point arc.
Well, now's going to be the time. If you're Nemanja Stojic, all those years in the gym, all those reps in the weight room, it's your time now, son, if Johnson isn't playing anymore. Swatted away, nice defense on the ground. Up, right hand, Simpson no good, no foul called. Pushing the pace is A.J. Williams.
And A.J. Johnson again gets the ball stolen away from him.
Brooks with the turnaround jumper. He is feeling it.
Yeah, this is looking like a Riley Brooks game here. A.J. Johnson struggling with a little bit. Riley Brooks able to pick up his teammate with 16 points.
A misguided pass. Brooks comes away with it. Loses possession. He was just looking away. And that's nothing more than a simple loss.
Yeah, just even maybe hit the side of his foot. Just bounced away from him there.
You ask yourself, how can you... A nice block by A.J. Johnson. The pass ahead, almost the foul. Stojic to the right side. Williams drives, tries for contact, pulls away. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Johnson less, and the Birds are in the lead. And that's what you have to do. You have to rally around your injured teammate, and everybody else has to step up. That's, wow. Jacob Neighbor, I mean, he just makes it look so easy. Now it's a situation where, okay, Neighbor, he's going to get his, but can you do enough offensively to not allow for Neighbors? You know what? Riley Brooks, once, twice, 3 times a lady. Birds up by 3.
And Riley Brooks, 7 of 11 from the field, knocking down clutch shots all night so far.
Simpson tries to answer back. Couldn't find it. A.J. Williams, a frantic first 3+ minutes in the second half.
That was almost in that last possession, a dare for Kylo Simpson to take that shot. He did, misses it, and here come the Firebirds.
Dawn looks for the screen, the up, the under, the layup. A 12-2 run for the Firebirds. There is no better way you could have started the second half of action. 12-2, unbelievable, Eric.
Yeah, wow, they coming out. I told you, coming out of the second half, coming out into the second half, they'd be fired up, and they sure are. And Riley Brooks, I mean, what else can you say? He's been able to fade away, get a bucket. He's been taking it to the hoop. He knocked down to 3, all 3 levels working for Riley Brooks. And when he's not knocking down shots, fellow starter A.J. Williams taking it strong to the basket himself, flips it to the ref.
Yeah, it's just been a fun little comeback for the Firebirds. It's a t-shirt toss. There's a fan on the shoulder of a cheerleader. It is pure chaos here in Tarble right now. What people wouldn't do for a t-shirt. I still think at some point we have to talk to somebody that works here and say, can we test if somebody could throw it this far up into the rafters? Probably much easier said than, because we have the high ground. Like if you're that low, it's got to be coiled up like a baseball.
Yeah, it's all about the wrap at that point. And I just want to take a second real quick to correct a stat. Thank you to some of the Carroll parents. And I mentioned Eric Victorson, over 1,000 career points. Now that was in high school, so you got to read the fine print there, Elger. But what it did lead me to is finding out that Justin Steinecke, the grad student from Carroll, now has over 1,000 points for the Pioneers. So quick shout out to the Carroll parents and Justin Steinecke getting us corrected there. Always appreciate that. But yes, the t-shirt toss, you'd have to have a tight wad there
Looking
to get it up here.
Looking for contact, and that's what a Stojic's role needs to be. You don't have to be the offensive firepower of Ryan Johnson. Get in, bang some elbows, get some boards, and just stop whatever presence they may have.
Yeah, just able to affect the shot there enough.
Brooks driving in, off to a Stojic, looks for Johnson, couldn't find it. Griffin Dawn with the offensive board. Fans cheering on the Firebirds. What an absolute tear Carthage is on.
There are 3 Pioneers in the area of Griffin Dawn. None of them pick them up, and it's an easy offensive rebound and layup there.
Stojic trying to box out. Not needed. Big 3-pointer for Victorson. And Victorson called for a technical. So the taunting has finally come to a head.
We did preview it a little bit. And it wasn't Victorson. We had Wofford, John a little bit. I believe there was a Simpson to Simpson, or Kylo Simpson was letting Griffin Dawn know a little bit. And there, again, too much jawing. And something you cannot do when A.J. Johnson is on the court. Someone who has knocked down, has not missed a free throw in the last 4 or 5 games. So if you're going to get the technical, you got to accept it's probably going to be 2 points, and Carthage is going to get the ball back.
What a turn of events. Carthage is now 7 out of their last 8 from the field, and indeed Victorson called for the technical. Now, again, I'm not showing any sort of bias. I 100% understand yapping, jawing, smack talking. It's all part of the game. It absolutely is. However, when it gets visible, audible, often, don't be surprised if there's a call. That's all I'm saying. Because we are truly up here in the rafters, and we're seeing it throughout the game, and we don't even know what was said, but something was said.
And you can tell Coach Taylor Jansen asking what exactly was said there. But I mean, sometimes as a ref, it's like you have to put your foot down somewhere, because if you kind of continue to let it go, pretty soon that, the tensions and tempers might flare. So, as a way refs can just, quick control of the game, make sure, let the teams know that we're not allowing that tonight. And Carthage, on the benefit, those for sure take that. And that's even extended their lead a little bit more here in the second half.
Riley Brooks into a Stojic. Brooks looking for 3. Is it the shoes? Riley Brooks absolutely #fired up.
Riley Brooks just so on fire here in the second half, and if you're Carthage, I don't see why you don't keep feeding 11.
Looked for the 3, came up empty, was Victorson. 22 points for Brooks. Stojic gets it after Dawn misses. Dawn slow to get up. Victorson looks for a 3. He can't find it. Dawn slowly trying to get his composure right now. Hands on his knees. It might be a sub coming up. He is still very gingerly nursing that left leg. Ricochet around. And a foul going to be called on Kylo Simpson, and in comes Sigel as Griffin Dunn gingerly goes to the bench. He will be checked out by a trainer. 2 out of your 5 starters right now not in the lineup, secondary to some sort of injury.
Yeah, can't say you love seeing, as you mentioned, 2 of the 5 starters currently with the trainers, but credit to Carthage. I mean, it's been the best basketball they've had in a stretch here this game, and it's been keyed off of guys like Riley Brooks, A.J. Williams.
Brooks kicks into a Stojic, looking for positioning, tries to just throw it up high off the backboard, thought he might have been able to get contact, didn't draw it, but that's the shot you want to take if you're a Stojic.
Yeah, you can see Riley Brooks sense a little double team coming, and Stojic is going to get a little freedom there and just not able to get to the basket. And there's Steineke, the 1,000-point career Pioneer player. We would, although on this Carthage broadcast, we'd like him to kind of stay where he's at currently in the career points.
Stojic looking for the handoff. Gets it to Johnson. He cuts in. They're going light offensively against Nemi right now. Comes up with the board. Williams. Stojic sprints down to get back on defense. What a sequence.
Great handoff there to get the bucket for A.J. Williams. And they're
swiped away by Brooks. Williams almost got there in time. Victorson. Simpson tries to lay up with the right hand. And Carroll just coming up cold in half number 2. Stojic, the layup with the right hand. Nemi Stojic, the big man. 62-52, a 10-point lead for the Carthage Firebirds. No other way to put it. They've gone hot, and the Pioneers have reached the frozen tundra of Wisconsin. Sigel drives, looks for a Stoyich. He's not going to take that shot. Johnson back to his Stoyich, the give and go. Steve Jarakovic, the head coach, the biggest fist bump we've seen all season. That is how you have each and every player ready when your name is called. Wow.
How about Nemi? He knows his role. You know, gets the ball at the three-point line. He knows that he's not going to take that. Instead, gets a little give and go. Two-man game there, and back-to-back possessions where Nemi getting a great look from his teammates.
Yeah, there's that offensive board of Stoyich and Williams, and that's what you see a Stoyich doing is absolutely what Ryan Johnson does. You mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. There's the layup to Nemi, and the reason I say that is, you know, it's cliche, but when iron sharpens iron, look at this give and go. I mean, the slide, the layup. A Stoyich now 6 points, but gritty points. Brooks 9 for 13, absolutely lethal from the field right now. Firebirds are feeling it, for lack of a better term.
And you got to feel good if you're A.J. Johnson. I mean, not really taking on a huge offensive load, but when you can just pass the guys like Riley Brooks, who can get offense from anywhere on the floor, and then you get guys like A.J. Williams and Nemi Stoyich chipping in, it really makes the Firebirds tough to stop. And now, just in a blink of an eye, a 12-point lead. And you know what I was thinking?
What were you thinking, Ed?
It's like, I feel like we need like some sort of a bat signal, just but for Nemi, you know?
Yeah.
It's like he's waiting there in the bat cave, ready to be called upon, and when he is,
Yeah.
always there to deliver
I
for
would
the
say
Firebirds.
just like a big letter O, but instead of the middle, it's the Firebird logo.
Yes, yes.
He looks up into the rafters because we are up here in darkness. A block by Johnson.
Slowly takes off his warm-ups, knows it's his time. Great defense there by A.J. Johnson. Again, something Steve Jarakovic talks about is doesn't only get the credit. How about this again?
Nemi! The two-hand power slam. We are witness to the Stoyich show.
They can't stop Nemi. Only hope to contain him as Wofford there, able to cool the Jets a little bit, but how about Nemi? Cutting hard to the hoop.
Well, anytime he sets that screen, they're peeling off. They're leaving him open. Brooks hits the side of the backboard, a little too tough of an angle. Layup with the right hand, couldn't find it as Stoyich with the board. Now, the challenge is going to be when a Stoyich needs to get a breather and Montgomery comes in. Everything's working right now for the Firebirds in the absence of Johnson. Colton Sigel looked for that three, that's his shot. No problems with him taking it. Charge! Lamar Smith leaned in. Sigel, feet planted. 66-54 for the Birds.
And that's something we've seen happen the last couple games is when Sigel is on the defensive end, teams really like to target him. And the last two games, Colton Sigel has stood up well. I mean, you think of where do you want to attack? You got guys like Griffin Dunn, A.J. Williams, A.J. Johnson. Those are high-end defenders. And not to discredit Colton, but, you know, he has taken the brunt of some looks, and they're stepping up for a charge.
This is the lineup. Sigel looks for it, fade away, couldn't find it. Griffin Dunn checks back in, Riley Brooks. I was just gonna say, this is the lineup. If you're Carroll, you want to take advantage of the lack of the bigs. Dunn backing in. The pump fake, short floater, couldn't find it with the right hand. Under 10 in the contest, 12-point lead for the Birds. Losing a handle, poked away, they're gonna say, as Dom Burns has checked into the game. along with the likes of Kobe Simpson, as well as number 20, Johnson Steinecke. Piles looked for the three, couldn't find it, back iron. Offensive rebound is Neighbor. Mishandle, and they're going to say stays here as well.
You got to expect the Pioneers to look for Neighbor, and he has just been a bruiser tonight. Someone that is a load to handle on the defensive end, but where is Carroll going to find it? Spread it around, but now it seems like they don't really know, where that offense is going to come from.
Another poke away defensively by A.J. Johnson. Nemanja Stojic sitting back down, went and took a little walk, got some water, some purified H2O. He'll be ready. Montgomery defensively, and the foul is going to be called with 5 seconds remaining. Let's see who it's going to be. It might be against Brooks, not quite sure who made contact. But nonetheless, going to the line is going to be Kobe Simpson. A.J. Williams about to come back in, I believe, for Colton Sigel. You and I have said it all season, Eric, and I think it bears mentioning again. It is such a diversified offensive approach for Carthage. It used to solely be, or we should say primarily be, inside out. Feed the bigs, kick it out if it's open. Now you do not know in any game who's going to be your leading scorer.
Yeah, I mean, someone like Riley Brooks, who has not been the leading scorer the past few games, but someone definitely you can rely on and expect on his night to put up something like 22 points like he's done so far. And they're going to keep going to him.
This is your small but speed lineup. Dawn, the up and under, follows it up and gets fouled. Mr. Hustle with a 10-point lead.
You can tell Don's frustrated with not finishing a couple of these looks he's had around the rim because, I mean, he's someone who almost operates like a big man, just gets on that low block and is able to pump fake maneuver, carve some space in there. What a Euro step to get to the basket, and just frustrated himself that he wasn't able to get an and one opportunity out of it.
Griffin Dawn, a 600 free throw shooter, so it's good to see him working that average up if you're a fan of the Birds.
And Carroll just 4 of 17 from the field the first 11 minutes in the second half.
There's no other way to put it, Eric. I did not expect this in the slightest from what we saw in half number one, because Carthage was shooting well in half number one. Pios were just shooting better. And then when you and I saw Johnson not in the lineup and Lamar Smith and Jacob Neighbor start taking advantage, you said, oh, this could be a long night. But when things are bouncing that way for the Firebirds, again, no lead is safe with either of these squads. Williams looks far side. The fadeaway. Brooks is going to go to the line. Contact made. Coach Jansen not agreeing. Third foul called on Steinecke, 68 to 56.
Another thing I think you can see what made a difference in the second half is the offensive rebounds. Carroll had 10 offensive rebounds in the first half. Second half, just 2, while Carthage has 6 of their own. So that offensive rebounding advantage is really flipped here in the second half. And Carroll's kind of had to go one and done, and then Carthage on the other end has picked up some big offensive rebounds to keep their possessions alive.
Well, it's a circumstance where truly in the first half, Carroll, it was a noticeable difference for what they did in the offensive rebound. I mean, think about the free throws. They were missing free throws and following up and getting multiple second chance points. Up and good for Brooks. Lead at 14 for Eric Elger. I'm Peter Ferreri. I almost went full name and threw Eric in because it's my middle name, like just to try to match you and be cool.
I don't know if I knew that about you.
Yeah, that's it. Floater with the right hand and good. Finally, Victorson. And not to mention what happened earlier in the contest, but that technical by Victorson really was a turning point for this contest.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because it seemed like, it really just gave Carthage 2 points and the possession, and they have not looked back from that point on.
And one opportunity. Kobe Simpson, and just like that, A.J. Johnson and Stoich about to check back in. You could tell Coach Jarakovic not happy about Colton Sigel. Just that last possession, just not allowing his teammates to come up court, just looking for that three, couldn't find it. He wanted them to set up their offense because a 14-point lead is now at 10, but lots of time left in this game.
And really, the way Carroll's shot the ball, they get it up early and they kind of play a really fast-paced offense. So, as you mentioned, plenty of time for someone like Pioneers. Really only take 10 seconds at most off the shot clock, it feels like. And Carthage is fortunate there to not get burned by a steal at half court.
Riley Brooks, when they were coming down court, said, slow it down. Williams, not the prettiest look. Chance cut into the 10-point lead. Not afraid to take any three-pointer. Once again was Wofford. Now if you're the Firebirds, you utilize that shot clock. Look for the best shot. Williams goes up. Contact, no call. Simpson looks for three, airs it.
And that was something that, Carroll really needed after a quick shot there from A.J. Williams. Carroll able to run out in front and had an open look, and Kobe Simpson not able to connect, and Carroll's going to have to buy a couple more buckets here if you want to get back in the game.
A.J. Williams, hand in his face, couldn't find the bucket. Didn't hit the line. I'm not quite sure what that whistle was.
Neighbor went down. I don't know if that was a...
I believe it was a potential stoppage for injury, but nonetheless, 70-60 your score. A snowy evening in Kenosha. 6:16 remains for the Pios to try to come back in half number two. Folks, just as a reminder, Pios had 42 points at half. They have scored 18 points in 14 minutes.
If you're Carthage, continue to keep your head. It seems like they're getting a little frustrated by some of the calls and non-calls, and you gotta look at the scoreboard, know you're 10 points ahead, not get too upset by any call, because if you stay even-keeled here and continue to work the shot clock, play good defense, you're gonna come out on top.
Driving with the right, nothing there. Pump fake. Sigel checked back in for the staunch defense he can play, giving Williams a breather. The turnaround floated in the air and just not a clean possession for the Pioneers.
Carthage just surrounded Kylo Simpson there and ran out of places to go, and Carthage able to get a steal, slow it down, work the offense, find a good shot.
Johnson pump fake, swatted from behind and touched the line. Nice job by Steinecke to try to run that one down, just was a second too late.
Yeah, AJ could have went up with it right away. Thought he was going to draw a foul, but Carthage able to have the ball bouncing their way.
Floater in, A.J. Johnson right hand, gets his own board, hits the ground, and a kick ball is going to be called on Johnson. All right, so something to note as well. Stoich is in the game. Montgomery is now also on the trainer's table getting his left leg looked at. So you have 2 out of your 3 big men at the trainer's bench. And the only reason that is, something that bears mentioning, you have 3 big men that are in the main part of your rotation. So for all intents and purposes, this is the Stoich show the rest of the way home. Timeout going to be called by Coach Steve Jarakovic. Lead was as many as 14. It is down to 8. Carthage went on an absolute tear offensively. They are now scoreless in their last 3.5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Peter Ferreri alongside Eric Elger. It's just going to be a dogfight the rest of the way.
Yeah, Carroll, definitely a hard-nosed team, and you can sense they're not going anywhere. They continue to attack guys like, as you saw in that last possession, guys like Kylo Simpson continuing to attack, get to the basket, trying to draw fouls, and they continue to really get buckets up early, shooting early in the shot clock. And here's where Carthage found a lot of success, was running a little pick and roll game with Nemi, and we have not seen that for a while as Carthage has come up empty the last couple possessions.
If we were to look at some of the prior games, and again, I don't know how much value it's going to necessarily have, but now's where you have to start asking yourself, who's some of the other big men that could potentially come in if a spell or a breath is needed? Andy Nash, the 6'4" guard, not necessarily the big man. You know, because it's such a rotational 1 through 3/4 that happens for the Firebirds. That depth isn't necessarily something that's tested at that big position. Also to note, we haven't seen him. I believe he suited up, but Garrett Arnold has not been in the game at all. He's seen some quality minutes as of late. Shot no good.
Yeah, Griffin just hasn't been able to connect on that.
Pass inside. Stojic couldn't get back in time. And Carroll starting to find their groove, and here comes the press. Lead at 6. It was as many as 14 a few minutes ago. One of the other big men has seen 11 minutes on the season. Is Caden Dawson, your true freshman out of Elgin, Illinois. Three-pointer. Stojic throws it back in, and it hits the foot of one of the defenders, and A.J. Johnson. Absolute fireball. Huge bucket for Carthage, and again spurred by Stojic. Trying to answer back, and Stojic tips it, and a foul going to be called.
And there, Stojic doesn't get the rebound, but definitely the main reason why Griffin Dawn was able to come down with it as he knocks it to his teammate. And Nemi, what hustle, diving, jumping out of bounds, doing one of those, you just try to chuck it off somebody. And A.J. Johnson picks it up and says, "Thank you very much."
Foul going to be called on Simpson. Carroll at 7, and to the line is A.J. Johnson. If you are the Firebirds, there is no other player in the conference you want at the line than A.J. Johnson.
I mean, if you're anybody in the conference, he is the CCIW leader in free throw percentage, so this is where Carthage has really been able to tighten the screws by getting to guys like A.J., who's just been nearly automatic.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, as you already see now, again, you kind of saw him skirting off the right side. Stojic already back on defense. They need to preserve him as much as possible because that three-man rotation at big is down to 1. And then what do? Do you put Griffin Dawn at the 4 or 5? Like I said, Dawson's seen a little bit of playing time. Something to keep an eye on. If you are the Firebirds, you're hoping to come away with a win without Ryan Johnson having played in the entire second half. Penetration, pump fake. The turnaround floater with the right hand, rims out. Trying to get the offensive board, not able to do so. 3-11, lead at 11.
Nemi did a nice job of not fouling there. I think earlier on in his career, he'd jump up, try to make a block, able to stay nearly on his feet and force the miss. I think you'll continue to see Carthage get it. Riley Brooks, A.J. Johnson here.
Time is of the essence. The footer into Stojic. He is fouled on the way up. Lamar Smith didn't think he made contact, but a Stojic going up strong with mere moments left in the shot clock.
I was going to say, that made me nervous getting there to Nemi with 1.5 seconds left, but Nemi able to turn and draw the foul.
Stojic couldn't find it. Another player to keep an eye on, and I'm just saying this out loud. Ash Oglesby, your 6'7" sophomore guard out of Racine. Bounces around and in, and you'll take 1 out of 2. Oglesby has only played in 6 games, but does have 55 minutes logged in those 6. So if you're looking at what things may come this weekend, should there be any situation with whether it's Johnson or Montgomery, I am sure Coach Jarakovic is going to spend Thursday and Friday getting Ash up to speed.
Nice job there by A.J. Williams, dribbling the ball up the court, because someone like Kobe Simpson, 4th in the CCIW in steals, as I mentioned, tough to get by, able to get it done.
Turnaround jumper, Brooks couldn't find it. Shooting up with the right hand, and no good.
And if you're Carroll, this is exactly what you need to do. Continue to attack, get on the free throw line with the clock stopped. It's going to put some pressure here on Pioneers from the charity stripe, because they're going to have to convert to get back here down 9 now.
Well, again, looking at the situation, you're up by 9. This free throw will make it 8. You don't want to get it in to Stojic. He's not your free throw shooter. You want to take as much time. Carroll still has time. A swipe from behind and a foul going to be called. So, contact made, and Brooks is going to go to the line for 2. And here comes Colton Sigel. So here's the situation. Let me ask the question, Eric. Do you consider, whether it's offensively or defensively, subbing out for Nemi and just kind of making that little bit of a sacrifice? All right, we're not going to have the height out there should a rebound situation present itself, or do you say to yourself, we're up by, with this would be 10, and it's 10, and do you say to yourself, we'll sacrifice if he gets fouled for his ability to get a rebound?
I think what you'll see is Nemi, they really are trying to pound it low, get to the basket. He needs to be on the defensive end, but I think offensively you'll see Nemi run to the other side of the court as soon as he can and hope one of his other teammates is going to get fouled and knock the free throws down.
Leaning to the left, couldn't find it. Brooks with the rebound. 1.5 minutes remaining, 10-point lead. Pios need the Birds to miss. They need a quality possession. They have fouled Carthage early in the past few possessions, and that hasn't been fruitful. Williams with the pump fake. Driving kick back out. Brooks with the hot hand! And continues on. He set fire to the rain. 81-68 Birds.
How about that from AJ to AJ? AJ Williams passing up the shot on his own. Able to do a little mix and match with AJ Johnson, and AJ so clutch in the last few minutes. This is something that I'm not sure if we can look up, but I would have little doubt at who the leading scorer is for the Firebirds down the stretch. I would say number 15 seems to get those baskets in crunch time week after week.
This possession could really be it for the Pioneers. They need Carthage to miss. And a foul called with 8 ticks on the clock. And there's nothing that the Pioneer coaching staff can do but just stare blankly as, again, it was an off ball. It wasn't even on a shot. That stuff that'll drive you nuts.
And almost like you want that foul earlier in the shot clock rather than seeing 22 seconds drip
Exactly. Off. If that's going to be the case, I know you're trying to be aggressive and go for the steal. Tough circumstance, to say the least. Colton Sigel at the line. Sigel, one of the other free throw shooters for the Birds. Makes it. 8-15 free throw shooter for Sigel. He's up to 7 points.
They sub in Dawn there for the defensive pressure.
Stolen away by Brooks, or Johnson, excuse me, and he's just doing the smart thing and holding on to it.
And it looks like the Pioneers are
8-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock.
What a half there by Carthage here.
Johnson pulls up for three. Hashtag why not? 13 seconds, and that should all but do it in this contest. 86-68. Side rim, no good. Throwing it back in with 3 with 2, the pump fake. And that's going to be it. That's going to be all she wrote. The Firebirds trailed at half, 42-37. Did nothing but go on an absolute tear in half number 2. Sans, their big man, Ryan Johnson. Sans, the rotational big, Nate Montgomery. Nemi Stojic, I am sure we'll talk about him in the post game. Eric, initial thoughts on this victory for the Birds?
I mean, it's the second game in a row that Carthage has really tightened the screws on defense in the second half. Firebirds outscoring the Pioneers 51-26 in the second frame, and so, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say more than just doubling up the Pioneers in the second half, shoring up the defense, and continuing to crash the boards, and Nemi coming up big.
Some out-of-town scoreboards. Milliken defeated Wheaton 76-73. And in the second half, Illinois Wesleyan a commanding 67-43 lead over Augustana. And we will have more after we take this brief timeout. Coach Jared Kovic to join us shortly on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. and welcome to the postgame show here on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. For Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Alongside us now is head coach Steve Jerichovic. Steve, the first half, it's kind of been that type of first half this season, and, let's just make the second half like the first half, and then you won't have to worry like that anymore. But all jokes aside, I mean, what an effort, outscoring the run you went on, and you never cooled off. Talk us through it.
I'd be happier with that as well. I thought, honestly, we were really good preparation Monday, Tuesday in practice, and I guess you can't look at all things that way, but the shoot-around this morning, I thought it was flat. We didn't seem as focused. It's sort of that time of the year right now, too, in the grind of conference, but happy with the guys responding in the second half. And, to pick up a guy when somebody gets hurt, not able to finish up the game. Ryan Johnson will be back on Saturday healthy. It was probably just a move to, keep him on the bench for the second half. And proud of Nemi, man. He battled. The offense runs so well with him in there, too. He's a fifth-year guy, or only one on the roster. And, he's battled through a lot these last 5 years, too. And, he knows where the ball's supposed to go. He's a smart player. He's a really physical player, too, going against Jacob Neighbor on the other end is a talented player. And I think he finished the game plus 26 when he was on the floor. So could not be happier with Nemi's effort tonight.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, just looking at the splits, as we mentioned, the first and second half, what does a halftime talk go like when you mentioned kind of flatten the shoot around? And I'm not an expert at, what your team is like, but they seemed a little flat in the first half. What is it that you might have said, or was it team leadership that really flipped the switch for the second half?
Our leadership's fantastic. Our captains do a great job of keeping everybody mentally focused. We've been in this situation a lot before, battling out in a competitive game. They're playing their best basketball of the year.
Yeah.
Aaron Wofford's a heck of a player coming off the injury last year. He's getting better and better with each week that he plays, which is scary for the conference because they got three guys that can flat out shoot the basketball. They got a really good slashing athlete, and one of the difference-making posts in the league, and Jacob Neighbor, who there's not many 6'8", 240 guys out there that are going to bury into you and be able to get to the free throw line like he does. So overall, defensively, I think the second half is what changed it, and we want to hold people around 40% or under. I think we held them to 38% again for the game. So we do that, we have a chance to win every one we're in.
Yeah, and Riley Brooks really seemed like he had it going on early with a couple drives to the basket. It seemed like that built his confidence. I mean, we know how talented of a shooter is, but it just seemed like getting those early buckets really boosted him, and it seemed like you relied on him to carry the scoring load tonight.
He's getting more and more comfortable too. I mean, we have a bunch of it's a different team than what we were last year, right? So it took a little bit. That second half is our best brand of basketball. The ball's popping, the ball's moving. We're getting some short rolls. We're getting some finishes on the back end. We're getting some cutters on the backside. That's what we want to see. And first half didn't seem like we were there. We had 6 assists to 6 turns, which is never going to be good. And we did not handle their intensity and their pressure. And Carroll's so well coached. They're a difficult team to play just because of the dynamic of how they are. Their team is constructed very, very well. They space you out, they attack you, and you're on an island a lot. And there were a bunch of plays in the first half. I thought we were guarding Kobe Simpson fantastic, and ball still goes in the basket.
Yeah.
Yacalo Simpson, think you're in a good spot, hits that little pull-up one there too. So they got a nice mix of perimeter players with the big guy inside, which makes them a very, very difficult matchup. And, they won 2 of their last 3, lost in an overtime battle out at Rock Island this past week, so they're playing really, really well right now.
Looking ahead to this weekend, you got a little bit of time. What's the next 48 hours going to look like as you, rest, prep for Saturday? I'm sure, because the one thing you do so well, not to compliment you on the broadcast, but is who's that key player that's going to come in? So whether it's a Tanner Lamb, whether it's an Arnold, whether it's a Montgomery, everybody is, the phrase we use in the broadcast is they're ready to answer the call. What's this next 2 days going to look like to get whoever that is to answer the call?
It is that next man up mentality. And our guys are always ready. When their number's called, they're going to go out there and leave it all on the floor, whether that's Mason Miller today, whether that's Nemi today, Nate Montgomery today. And sometimes those are the harder ones to be in, right? The guy's playing 35 minutes. I'm going to go on the bench for a minute. It's hard when it's like, am I or am I not going to get called on today? And you got to be ready when your number's called. So proud of our guys for that. But for the next 48 hours, it's back to homework. It's back to prep. Second time through the league, so we're all a little bit familiar with each other at this point. Obviously, it was a month and a half ago since we saw Augustana last, and they jumped us to start. They were up 18-2 out in Rock Island, and we had to claw and battle our way back in the second half. Another poor pregame speech, so maybe we'll do something a little bit different for Saturday on Alumni Day. We have a lot of alums coming out.
Yeah, well, Eric is available for any pep talks you need. I'm not quite sure if it'll be good, but with that being said, Coach, congrats on the huge win, and we will see you in just a few days.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Coach. Again, that was winning coach Steve Jarakovic, 88-68. Eric, as we start rolling through some of the statistics, always a pleasure talking to Coach in the post-game show here on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Not much more he could say. I think the fact that the players are ready to, quote, answer the call when it's their turn, and they never know when it's going to be, so every player is ready. As we look at the post-game stats, 27 for 70, 5 for 20. Things really dried up for the Pios in the second half, but the biggest differential was the rebounds. 48 to 39, the Pios dominated, especially on the offensive side in the first half.
Yeah, and that's where, it's kind of crazy to think that Carthage was out-rebounded with someone like Ryan Johnson in the first half, and then he goes to the bench, and Carthage out-rebounds Carroll in the second half. And it took guys like Griffin Dawn. How about Griffin Dawn coming up with a handful, I think it was 12 rebounds. Yes, 12 rebounds for Griffin Dawn. So that was your guy who you wouldn't expect someone, not the tallest player, but he really picked up the rebounding load, and then it became Riley Brooks knocking down shot after shot, and then, as always, A.J. Johnson, kind of the closer, Mariano Rivera, if you will. And, yeah, you look at the score, they won by 20. It didn't feel like that most of the game, and just credit to Carthage to really turning it on in the second half.
Yeah, Wofford ends with 11 points, Victorson 14, but 5 for 13. Most of those points for each of these players were first half points. Things just really dried up in the second half for the Pioneers. A big part of that was, the law of averages, but also the Firebirds just were taking such quick shots, heightened the tempo of the game, didn't allow the Pioneers after the first few buckets to really get their composure. And that's the difference that we saw this Wednesday evening in Kenosha. Let's look ahead now for where these two teams will land. For the Firebirds, again, Augustana this Saturday. Then they are on the road at North Park and right back against Carroll on the 5th. And then they're home, the big one, February the 8th, the doubleheader against Illinois Wesleyan. That's going to be the big one, and that's a doubleheader as well. We're excited for that one. That will also be on Marquee Sports Network. And looking ahead for the squads, as for Carroll and the Pioneers, they head to Illinois Wesleyan with another tough battle, so back-to-back two of the top teams in the conference. Then they're home against Milliken, and once again welcome Carthage on the 5th, and then Wheaton and the Thunder on the 8th. What's coming up for the Firebirds on the Broadcasting Network, you may ask? Well, not only is it the doubleheader, men's and women's hoops this upcoming Saturday, but also men's wrestling will be at 1:30. Next Thursday, we have an off day, is Juniata and Carthage for men's volleyball, and then Friday, the 31st, men's volleyball, Juniata versus Baldwin Wallace diving, and then men's volleyball versus Stevens. So back-to-back volleyball nights for the Firebirds. For executive producer Mike Love, producer John Voinovich, as well as the rest of the staff and crew, Jeremy Morgan, Ty, Marissa, Addison, Yam, and Natasha. Thank you as always. The student broadcasting crew is second to none. This program has been a presentation of Firebird Broadcast Productions and Carthage College, copyright 2025. Once again for Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri, 88-68, your final on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Have a good week, everybody.